There is a new theory that Donald Trump is replacing the Federal Reserve, going to use gold, silver to basically buy up the entire crypto industry and use that to catapult us into this future. Christopher Green here has this theory. I wanted to go ahead and explore it. He does mention XRP and a few other crypto assets and blockchain technology. Let me play it. I also have a ton of new information on GTreasury and how that could get us to $20 at least per XRP. What companies are connected to this. We also have some other breaking XRP news. Ripple to invest $1 billion into buying fresh XRP. Let's play this first.
All right, this is breaking news. You heard it here first. It all has finally made sense to me. I can't believe I didn't think about this before, but the reason gold and silver prices are skyrocketing to new all-time highs is they're about to do what I predicted years ago. Watch the video on X. I told you that Trump was secretly replacing the U.S. Federal Reserve System, and they were going to reprice Fort Knox gold and silver reserves to buy all the existing liabilities, Bitcoin, crypto, reset us into the stablecoin system, etc., move into tokenization, as BlackRock is now telling all of us. And so basically, if you didn't understand what I just said, what they're doing is intentionally pumping, Wall Street is, the central banks, gold and silver prices to new record highs. Gold just hit $30 trillion plus. That's massive. That doesn't happen by accident. And the reason they're doing that is they're going to need higher priced gold, higher priced silver to offset their strategic reserve purchases of the new currency and the new gold, Bitcoin, Litecoin, XRP, Ethereum, cryptocurrencies, as they send that to decatrillions itself. So if you think about it just like mathematically or just, really common sense, they're going to pump one asset up to buy the other asset cheap, then reset the system and use the stable coins that they printed 300 trillion yesterday, not by accident. PayPal. The PayPal mafia does not print 300 trillion, double the economic GDP of the entire planet overnight on accident.
Really quickly though, they did do that on accident. Within 20 minutes, they did burn that remaining. Now that could have been a test or some kind of stress test, but I don't know. We're getting kind of a little conspiracy theory here, but all good.
I mean, Peter Thiel freaking founded PayPal. All these guys are PayPal. Elon Musk founded PayPal. That's not an accident. So they're running these tests, shock and awe, which is why they ran the liquidity event recently with Binance and all the exchanges. And we saw the huge drawdown in altcoins because they're lubricating the system. They're checking on stable coins, parity, stability, all those kinds of things, flushing out leverage longs. And then like I've predicted, watch the video on X. It is titled, I just posted it again. It already had like 1 million views months ago. I was in my green Lamborghini, titled, Breaking Trump has secretly replaced the U.S. Federal Reserve, giant shocks ahead, where I explain that was the optics around Fort Knox. Remember how they said they were going to audit it? Yeah, they did. They just didn't tell us about it. Okay, so now they're repricing those reserves and they're going to use it to buy cheaper Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, XRP. This is going to be the biggest economic financial event in world history, like what we saw with FTR with his executive action. I expect massive shocks, the financial markets to close, bank runs, the regional banks are going down. I don't know if you saw that today. JP Morgan Chase just incurred a 200 million roughly cockroach debt implosion on a faulty loan that they took with Tricolor. And that's just the beginning. Jamie Dimon's calling it cockroaches. This is the same guy that did business with Jeffrey Epstein, so he knows what's up. He's the same guy that got all the multi-trillion-dollar bailouts from you U.S. taxpayers. So this is going down now, guys. Did you hear what I said? Rewatch this video. They're pumping gold. This is an institutional move, not retail. Retail's not pumping gold plus 30 trillion. No, this is a short-term pump. Once they have that new capital that they've created by moving the water to the other side of the system, gold, silver, precious bullion, metals, etc., they're going to use that to reprice and reset us into the stablecoin networks and this new system, Bitcoin, crypto, Litecoin, Ethereum, XRP, that I predicted.
All right. We'll have to see if it plays out. Let me know what you guys think about his theory. It does makes sense in some ways, right? How are they going to do this great reset, this big reset? You're going to need a lot of liquidity. It does look like central banks have been preparing for this for quite some time over the past several years, buying golds at alarming rates. It does seem like this is coming to a head here. Is he going to be right? I guess we'll see. I do like that XRP is included here, right? Let's go. I thought this was interesting. Talking about shocks to the system, Christine Lagarde is on stage at the IMF talking about exactly just that.
And we are well positioned to face future shocks. And future shocks there will be. Both Kristalina and Talman said it. I completely agree with that. We will be facing shocks. In what direction? How do we adjust our policies in order to deal with it? What kind of regulatory framework we have in order to reduce the financial instability risks that abound as a result of new technologies breaking through into the financial system? It will be incumbent upon us, advanced economies, emerging economies, low-income countries, to agree on what will be the best way to cooperate in order to maintain financial stability, price stability, while helping with the development of growth.
Let me ask you this question. Do you guys trust central banks or central bankers to have your best interest at heart? I'm just curious. You can say yes or no, whatever you want, or let me know if you have more than a yes or a no. But do you trust them? Do they have your best interest at heart? Are they going to look out after you and I? We'll see. All right. Ripple X Dev across Europe. Projects like Schumann's Europe and Societe Generale's Euro CV stablecoin are bringing regulated value on chain, with the XRP ledger servicing the foundation for secure compliance and finance. So this is Eduardo Morrison, co-founder of Schumann.io, shares the euro is coming on chain through Europe. We talked about this months ago. It looks like they're finally pushing forward with this now. This is a digital euro stablecoin on the XRP ledger.
We decided to work together with the Ripple team, particularly because it's a company that has a lot of experience since maybe 10 years or more. Finance is not going anywhere, and we want to be the clear leader on the European on-chain side.
All right, love the music. Paul Barron did post this. My prediction, Ripple just made a $1 billion power move by acquiring GTreasury. They're not just entering the corporate treasury space, they're bridging XRPL to Fortune 500 finance teams, managing trillions of dollars in capital. Legacy systems are about to meet real-time 24/7 crypto payments. The financial infrastructure shift is accelerating faster than anyone could have expected. 100% cash visibility, 13,000 banks and financial institutions, $12.5 trillion in payments. Now, I did another video where I came up with how much this is actually going to impact the XRP ledger. Now, we do know that this value would need to be transacted on the XRP ledger to really start moving the price. But if you start moving 12.5 trillion, this is about $34 billion a day. You mix in Hidden Road at about $10 billion a day. You're roughly at $44 billion a day being transacted on the XRP ledger, if it's RLUSD on the XRP ledger or using XRP in between, whatever you want to say, as long as it's not on Ethereum. This would push XRP's price well above $20. If we want to get into like the $100 price level, we need to get really close to 100 to 150 billion per day being transacted on the XRP ledger. If we should somehow get into the trillions with like the DTCC, this is where prices could get astronomical, like 4 digits. All right. And just to go over this, GTreasury serves 1,000 clients globally, including major companies like Hitachi, ADP, Boston Scientific, Pfizer, and American Airlines, just to name a few. There's also Palantir Technologies on here. This person said, few understand how significant Ripple's recent acquisition of GTreasury is. Taro Sakamoto provides us with detailed breakdown of how Ripple is now a central player in the global treasury ecosystem. In brief, Ripple's $1 billion acquisition of GTreasury, announced October 16, 2025, marks its third major deal this year after Hidden Road and Rail, positioning the firm to embed XRP and RLUSD into the $120 trillion global treasury market. With GTreasury's 13,000 banking connections, the post details a 3-layer architecture: GTreasury for management, Ripple Trust Bank for custody, and Hidden Road for liquidity, enabling corporations to unlock idle capital through blockchain. It looks like, this is already a done deal. I bet you it's already been decided. It does say, by complying with SWIFT and ISO 20022 standard, this integration bridges traditional banking and digital assets, potentially accelerating institutional adoption of Ripple's infrastructure for efficient, transparent global liquidity flows. Ladies and gentlemen, this is getting very, very serious. You also have more connections now from GTreasury into BNY Mellon. We just say, is Ripple choosing to hold their RLUSD reserves at BNY Mellon? Is that for a specific reason, or just because that is the most trusted custodian partner? Now you start to see there's a bigger plan at play here. BNY Mellon and GTreasury are interconnected here. This is what it looks like. Chad Steingraber did post this. I did a video on this earlier just to give you a quick recap how this works. Trade is placed through the Treasury, GTreasury, excuse me, GT. I was thinking Mercedes for a second for some, I don't know why. Excuse me. I'm thinking about what cars I want to go out and pay cash for. No, I'm just kidding. Trade is placed through GT using investment template. BNY receives trade instructions via a template and invests in the investments for the amount specified in the template. Once GTreasury receives a trade confirmation, your portfolio is updated and initiates settlement and instructions to BNY for investments or redemption. So if you sell, those are redemptions, you're getting that money back. So this is now interconnected, another layer of connectivity into BNY Mellon through Ripple and of course XRP. You know what's up. JP Morgan, GTreasury, and Ripple. Now JP Morgan and Ripple are connected. Love to hear that. XRPL full integration will now be available for JP Morgan and the corresponding banks. This is why the innovation officer at Swift is so worried. This is why he's out there doing anything he can to distract people from Ripple actually replacing Swift. Why would you stay, right? Wait, excuse me. You did a partnership with Consensus and Linea to maybe build out some technology that you're going to use for moving messaging to blockchain. We've already solved all that. Where you been for the last 5 years, Swift? This has been done, right? Now we're making moves to take it all. We're making moves to take it all right? Also, Ripple is leading the way here with $1 billion to accumulate XRP. So what's happening here? Ripple is getting into the DAT business. Let me just go ahead and bring this up to you. Ripple Labs is leading an effort to raise $1 billion for a new digital asset treasury, a DAT, digital asset treasury company focused on accumulating XRP, with the funds planned to be housed in a SPAC structure. This move is particularly notable because it comes just days after major crypto market volatility signaling Ripple's intent to expand its influence and liquidity for XRP in spite of the overall market headwinds. Ripple's DAT aims to become the largest XRP-focused treasury ever, channeling institution and strategic funding directly through XRP purchases. The fundraising utilizes a special purpose acquisition company, a structure typically used in traditional finance to pull capital for target acquisition and projects. Ripple itself will contribute some of its own XRP holdings to the seed treasury, demonstrating its ongoing confidence in XRP. The plan is still under active discussion with specific transaction terms not fully finalized. The goals here, by creating a DAT, Ripple will pivot from emission moderation, escrow-based supply management to engineered demand as institutional capital is directly injected into XRP accumulation. Ripple also recently acquired GTreasury for $1 billion. We just learned about that. This move positions Ripple to compete with large crypto holding firms that raise the profile of XRP. So we've already seen this with like MicroStrategy and as well as Bitmine. So man, a lot of really cool things happening. Now, Ripple can get XRP from escrow. They could also buy it off the open market. It's still gonna wait to be seen how this is all going to play out. But this could put even more pressure and demand on XRP, on exchanges. You start to wonder, are other institutions going to follow Ripple into this? If there were institutions having conversations, this is certainly going to get them to move a little bit more quickly. Obviously, Ripple could set off a chain reaction here of multiple companies all doing this. You have seen some hits and some misses with treasury related companies. So please understand that doesn't automatically mean this is going to, send us to the moon or Valhalla, whatever you want to call it. But this is a great step as far as bringing institutional capital to support XRP accumulation. All right, I'll leave it there, guys. Thank you so much for being here. Stay safe out here. 182 billion lost in the crypto market in the last 18 hours. The market still doesn't sure if it wants to go up or down. I'll see you guys. Thank you.